Hello, creeps. Welcome to another episode of The Mortuary. I'm your host, Morbid Tuna, and this is where we talk about horror films and related geekery. On today's episode of The Mortuary, I would like to talk about a new film, one that's got everyone talking in the horror community, it seems, Obsession. I looked at my channel recently, and I realized I've got some movie reviews, and I've got some unboxings, which is all well and good and lots of fun. But I only have one video wherein I'm talking about geek theory. Specifically, the video where I talk about at what point I believe Jason Voorhees became undead. So, because by this point there's a million reviews of Obsession just floating around, I figured I'd do something a little bit different and discuss what I think is going on in that movie. Specifically, what I think the nature of Freaky Nikki is. Now, I just want to warn everyone, as I said, this is not a review, it's a discussion, and as such, there are going to be spoilers. Okay, there are spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film and you're planning to, please turn off this video. If you have seen the film and you would like to hear my ideas about the nature of Freaky Nikki, then get comfortable because the next couple of minutes is going to be exactly that. So, what is Freaky Nikki? I'm beginning with the assumption that Freaky Nikki is a separate intelligence. She is a separate entity from normal Nikki. It isn't normal Nikki warped or normal Nikki changed or under the influence of whatever magic power the One Wish Willow thing is exerting over her. I think the One Wish Willow wish power created a whole new being and superimposed it over the real Nikki and repressed the real Nikki. Now, while I'm not certain exactly what Freaky Nikki is, let's at least figure out what she isn't. So, Freaky Nikki is not a ghost. A ghost is the spirit of a dead human being, always with some kind of unfinished business, whether it's seeking justice for their own murder, or whether it's to reveal some other hidden truth, or whether it's for revenge, or what it is. A ghost always has a mission. The mission might not be clear to mortals at first, and that might be the whole crux of the plot of any given ghost film, figuring out what this ghost wants, what they're all about, why they're still here, why they haven't moved on to the next life. But Freaky Nikki does not come off that way. She seems to exist purely to obsess over the main male character. I'm just gonna call him Gummy because frankly he's really stupid, and it's he who is unwittingly the real villain in this film. And Nikki is a victim. Now back to Freaky Nikki. Like I said, she's not a ghost. That much is clear. She seems to be very new to her surroundings. Ghosts always find something familiar in the world, but she seems almost like a newborn, like she doesn't really understand how to be human at first, and she's learning as she goes. Which comes to my second point, Freaky Nikki is not a demon. Demons are hundreds of thousands, even millions of years old. They've been around forever. They have a clear mission, which most of the time is just to mess with humanity, get us to lose faith, take our souls. And as I say, they have been around forever. They may play act at being naive and innocent and not understanding the world if it serves their mission, but they know what's up. They understand how humans work. They know exactly what our weaknesses are, how to get into our heads, how to mess with us. But Freaky Nikki, as I said, seems to be learning as she goes. This is evidenced in the first scene where we really meet her, where her speech patterns just don't make sense. She sounds like a malfunctioning android of some kind. She sounds like a robot whose programming is a little bit fried, where she will use sentences that maybe make grammatical sense, but they're completely out of step with the rest of the conversation. They're out of context. So we get this feeling like she is just kind of finding her feet. So this leads me to conclude that Freaky Nikki is not a ghost, she's not a demon, she's not any kind of long-standing malignant intelligence. Whatever you want to call that, every culture has some version of demons, evil spirits, what have you. I think Freaky Nikki was created the moment that Dummy made his wish. As soon as he made that wish, the wish power that runs through the One Wish Willow stick responded to his wish and spontaneously created a completely brand new entity. And that's what Freaky Nikki is. We basically see her be born. We see her the instant she comes into existence and starts trying to figure out how to come off as human. What the ultimate power is that gives the One Wish Willow stick its power, who it is on the phone that Dummy talks to, that sounds like some dude at first, but then obviously is more than just some dude. I don't know. That's something you guys can talk about in the comments if you want. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. But it does seem like whatever the force is, whatever the magic is that controls the wishes, that responds to people's wishes, it not only responds to the words they say, but it responds to the intentions inside them. Which is why the way Freaky Nikki behaves is not the way someone would behave who is truly in love. Someone who cares deeply about the object of their affection, who wants them to be healthy and happy and wants them to exist as a stable, happy individual. No. Freaky Nikki's idea of love was taken straight from Dummy's head. In his warped mind, he seems to think that absolute, unflinching, utter devotion is what love is all about. That is why Freaky Nikki behaves the way she does, why she is obsessed with him, because he thinks that's what love is supposed to look like for whatever reason. He's been raised with unrealistic ideas of relationships, or he's just somehow gotten it into his head that this is how people who are in love act with one another. Whatever the explanation, that's why she is so obsessive, because she is working off what he thinks love is supposed to look like in his immature, selfish, and horribly misguided way. And he's only finding out how horribly misguided he is now that it's too late, and he's got this absolute maniac of a girlfriend. One other piece of evidence also that leads me to conclude that Freaky Nikki and Normal Nikki are two separate entities is the scene where she's lying there on the bed and Dummy is standing talking to her. You don't see her lips moving, but you hear her weak voice begging for him to kill her. You can tell she's being held hostage in her own body. Somewhere deep down in there, the real Nikki is being restrained. Now, I'm not saying Freaky Nikki is enjoying suppressing real Nikki or she's being malicious about it. Freaky Nikki was created for only one purpose. Like a robot, she is single-minded, and all she can possibly do, all her nature will allow her to do, is to obsess over Dummy. So Freaky Nikki exists only because Dummy wished her into existence, and now that he is finding out what the reality of what he thinks love is all about really is, he doesn't like it so much. Well, guess what? Too late, champ. So I don't know what to call Freaky Nikki. I don't know exactly what kind of creature she is. So if anyone knows, if any of you folklorists or horror fans of any sort are familiar with any kind of legend that might explain what Freaky Nikki is, if you've heard of this kind of creature before, please drop a comment and educate the rest of us, because I'd be really fascinated to know what the heck she really is, if there's a name for that kind of creature, or if this is just something that the filmmakers made up. And that's it. That's all for another episode of The Mortuary with Morbid Tuna. If you've enjoyed this episode, please click that like button, click that subscribe button, and tell all your horror-loving friends to come on by The Mortuary and listen to this weirdo talking about horror movies and horror-related stuff all night long if they feel like it. I'll have another video coming at you creeps in a couple of weeks, but until then, stay spooky. And this is me, Morbid Tuna, at The Mortuary saying, slash you later.